the kind of watercolors that I use, I've used a few different types, and these are by far the best that I've used. They're called Mission Magella Golds, but they come in tube form, and then I take them, and I just bought one of these simple metal watercolor palettes from the art store. You can get them everywhere. And this one's nice because if I am painting something large, it has a palette holder, so you can just hold your palette like Bob Ross style. You add your color to the palette and it stays forever, and watercolor is nice because there's really no maintenance. You have your color, you don't have to keep it wet or dry or it's always there and it's always ready to go. Another great option for watercolor are the Winsor & Newtons. Both the Winsor & Newton and the Winsor & Newton Cottonman colors are really, really great. As far as brushes go, I keep it really simple. 9 times out of 10 I use an angled brush. Both of these are angled shaders, and I really like the angle because you can get a really fine point as well as like a wider brush stroke. So it's a very diverse type of brush. They're not super crazy expensive, but they're also not the cheapest brush you can get. And the reason you do want to spend a little bit more on a brush is because if you get the cheapest brush you can get, when you're illustrating, the glues are different. So as you're illustrating, sometimes the little bristles will come out and you have like hair all over your drawing. And that's really annoying. And these are really nice. They stay together well. I've had some of these for years and I haven't had any issues. Never put them in warm water. If you put them in warm water, it loosens the glue which holds the bristles in there. So that's going to make them fall out and fall apart and break over time. When it comes to washing your brushes, it's not super important to be really thorough about washing them with soap and water or anything. It's just important that you rinse them with water when you're done. And like I said before, never put them in hot water, never rinse them in warm water. In the next step, we're going to add some color. So some things, you want to get your watercolor ready, and also I always make sure to have a paper towel just to blot anything you might mess up with watercolor or to just check your color. So keep that, and have water obviously, and your brush. You don't need to clean your palette ever, because watercolor, you just add water and it brings your color back to life. So when you mix all these colors around here, some people are like, oh, why is your palette so messy? But you can go back and add water and get the colors that you already mixed before and reuse them. So I'm going to start by doing the basic blacks in her look, just to get down the really simple part of it. And the way I do black is, you can use a black paint, but I prefer to mix colors to make black, just because it makes the color a little more interesting and adds a depth to it that you don't necessarily get with just a plain solid black. How I mix black is I take a deep brown and I'll mix it with a dark blue, so kind of like a royal blue. So now I have this deep, it's almost black, but it's kind of has a brownish tint to it. Don't ever be scared you're gonna mess up, because you can always start over, or if you do mess up, just keep going and see how it turns out, because a lot of the time I will mess up a lot, and you just gotta keep going and you kind of work it into your piece and figure out a way to make it look right. Watercolor is kind of tough sometimes, because you need to think about what's going to be the lighter colors first, as opposed to something like acrylic where you can go back and add white. So I added in her top, just really simple. It's okay if you miss some spots, it adds a little texture to it. And then I'm gonna use the same color for her hair, and it's nice to kind of add the dark part there and then go and add more to her hair. So now what you want to do is sometimes you can take your paint again, maybe add a little bit more color to it, and then go back and add some shadows. Like underneath her arm there's a shadow, which really makes your painting more interesting. And then her hair's a little bit wet still, but you can go back and add some more darkness on the bottom part just to show a little shadow. And again, be just as loose with watercolor as you are with your pencil, and just kind of go with it and try not to think too much about it. Alright, so now we're gonna add a little bit of shading to her face and kind of clean up that area. You want to wait until your drawing is a little bit dry where you put the hair, just so you don't smear it at all. And I'm going to actually go in and lighten up the outline of her face a little bit with my kneaded eraser. So I'm going to go in and use a color I kind of already have on here, which is, it's just really a mix of a brown and a blue, but a lighter version, so there's a lot more water in it, so it's a shade of this but much lighter. So really a rule with watercolor is when you're adding more water, your color is going to be lighter as if you're adding white. So now I'm going to take that color and kind of put it under her jawline to add a little shadow to hint at the shape of her face and the back of her neck. And again, you don't need too much detail on this because it's about her dress and you're keeping it really simple just to give it that hint that that's her face. I'm going to add a little color to her face, and to do this you just want to use a little bit of red and a lot of water. And sometimes you can even add a little bit of yellow and it'll give it kind of a peachy tone to it. But also just kind of go with your gut, and there's no right color to use. It's really up to you. I mean, you could add, I don't know, a blue blush looking color and keep it a little more, it could be a little more artistic looking too. But I'm gonna stick with the peachy red. And I like to do that and add the little circle cheek just to add a little interest to the face and the drawing, because I don't put that much detail in sketches like these on the face. And you can kind of carry that color through just to add a little bit of a hint of a skin color. The same way you made your black, you can take a little brown and a little bit of blue, and that'll make a big range of skin colors. You just add more water or less water to get it darker and lighter. And also, when I do that, I usually add a little bit of a red to give it that rosy color, and then you can go ahead and add a little bit of yellow too. It really depends on the color you want to mix. So just kind of mess around. Skin colors are mainly in the yellows, the reds, the blues, and the browns though. But you can always add green and get a hint of an olive tone. For a larger area, you really want to add a lot of water to whatever color you're mixing, just because it's easier to cover the area, and especially since I usually stick with one brush for my whole painting, it makes it easier to spread it with a smaller brush. So make sure you get a lot of water, and I'm going to do a kind of a deep blackish blue. So some of that black that you've already mixed, you just add more blue to it and you can get that color right away. And once you get the color, make sure you get tons of water, and then I'm gonna just start laying this color down. And as you're working with watercolor, if you feel like you've messed up or you've put down a color and you don't like this look of the harsh line there, just grab some more water and kind of add the water and brush it out a little, and it'll get rid of any lines, or you can kind of pick up some of that watercolor with the water. And if you really don't like the color you've put down, just put a ton of water on it right away and then just blot it with your paper towel, and it'll pick up a lot of that color. So I'm going to add a little bit more blue just to get a more of a midnight color. And then I'm going to go back and add more color, and again, lots of water, and kind of just go with the lines that you've already drawn. Fill it in a bit. But an important part of watercolor is keeping the texture in there. It adds so much to your illustration that you want to keep that inconsistency to add texture. So I'm going to add a little bit more color up on the top to show where the volume's coming from. And just pull the watercolor down the dress as if, again, the weight is going down. So you really want to emphasize that with your lines. Towards the bottom, I always add, like, kind of outline that a little bit, but not too much. Just really lightly show that there may be a shadow under there from the light going down on her. And I mean, in the photo her skirt's really dark, it's dark black, but I like to keep it a little bit lighter just so you can see more color in the illustration, and it again adds more interest than having just a really dark skirt. But it really depends on what you want and what you want the final outcome to be. So I have the base color down on her skirt, and you can leave it like that and wait and add embellishment for the pattern, or sometimes I'll do a watercolor pattern and then embellishments on top of that, which adds like a double dimension to it. So what I'm going to do is just take a little bit more of that color, but add a little more blue to get a deeper color for the pattern. And then you really just want to be really light and just draw little flower type things here. And don't worry if they're fading away, that adds to the look of it. The wetter your paper is, the more your color is going to disperse over it. So like for instance here you can see this area is really wet still from the base layer, so the flowers I'm drawing are just basically blue blobs, but over here it's a little more dry, so they're standing out more. So you really just have to play around with your paper and the color and see what works for you, what you like, what you don't like. Towards the bottom here, I'm just gonna like add a little shoe with that blue color, but you don't really need to do too much with that. It's kind of just a little suggestion that her leg's sticking out a little bit. And then I'm gonna take some of that skin color I mixed before with the red and blue and a little yellow, and then put it on. And make sure you use a lot of water, and keep your skin color, whatever shade you're using, just use a lot of water so it doesn't kind of overpower your illustration. It's just a hint at the shade of her skin. So if you ever run into any issues with, sometimes I'll splatter paint on the background and I'm like, how do you get that up? You just take a bunch of water, and like I said before, you can kind of rub the color out, and then you just blot it with your paper towel. And if you keep doing that, you should be able to get majority of that color up if you do it quickly right after it happens. When you're storing your brushes, make sure that you clean them face down, but whenever you're done with your brush, you want to wipe it off and then store it face up, because you don't want these bristles to get bent.